What I'm going to tell you in this video could revolutionize your studying. It's a mistake I see time and time again from students of all ages and all abilities. And it can ruin not just your studies, but your whole motivation to learn. So settle in as we explore this problem through the tale of diligent Dave, a hard-working but hopeless student. Dave works grueling 12-hour days at his desk, but despite all that, he can't seem to perform well on his exams. Dave is at a loss for what is going on. He turns to teachers for advice, but all they tell him is to work more. But how could he find the time to cram any more work in? He's already burning the candle at both ends, and he is unsure of what he can possibly do to bring his grades out of the gutter. He starts to convince himself that he is just an idiot, a uniquely stupid student who will never be able to achieve anything. But this could not be further from the truth. Dave has all the ingredients needed to be a fantastic student. He is intelligent, hardworking, and truly cares about his studies. His problem is not a lack of ability, but a lack of strategy. You see, Dave has fallen victim to one of the easiest yet most damaging student misconceptions: that more work is always better, and that quantity of studying trumps quality of studying. Let's take a closer look at Dave's study routine. Dave overwhelmingly spends his study time doing low-reward tasks. He knows the long day ahead of him will tire him out, so he decides to pace himself. He boots up his laptop and starts scrolling through his old notes looking for something to read through. He skims the words on the page without much actually going in, and does this for hours at a time. His afternoon work is no more productive. Dave has picked out some books to read, but he's never fully immersed in them. In his quantity over quality approach, the number of books read is much more important than learning anything from them. So he skims book after book, not comprehending what on earth was in their pages, but convinced that some of it must be sinking in. This has the benefit of burning a lot of time, tiring Dave out, and persuading him that he must have learnt something, or else how would he be so exhausted? But his techniques fail to actually improve his grades at all. Dave drags himself to bed, tired from a day of not learning anything, and vows to do it all again tomorrow. The most insidious part of this whole cycle is that Dave truly believes he is learning. After all, he's going through an enormous amount of information each day, but in fact he's failing to apply, understand, or even remember any of it. So he may as well have done nothing at all. It would have been better for him to have sat down and focused on one hard practice question than to have spent hours skimming papers that he hasn't had any time to process. This system means that Dave shows up to exams convinced he is going to do well, only to receive a low grade each and every time. Everything changes when Dave learns the principle of the stimulus to fatigue ratio from exercise science. This principle points out the general correlation between muscle fatigue and muscle stimulus for muscle growth, and notices that certain exercises give you more bang for your buck than others. It also heavily warns against doing exercises that tire you out without achieving much stimulus at all. Dave quickly realizes he has spent all his time on low stimulus study activities like skimming old notes, and he needs to switch these out for higher stimulus activities even if they're more tiring in the short term. Dave switches from a quantity approach to a quality approach. Since he'll be adopting much more stimulatory study techniques like doing practice essays and past paper questions, he shortens his study day to just 4 hours. He knows he can go all out for 4 hours and then he can spend the rest of the time letting his mind recover. So Dave draws up a list of all the possible study activities he could do and ranks them in how stimulatory they are. Doing direct exam practice is at the top and skimming his old notes is at the very bottom. He picks the top 5 most stimulatory study techniques and vows that they will take up 80% of his study time. Dave immediately finds that his grades begin to improve. He's now not only refreshing his memory of information, but learning to apply it in the specific context relevant for his exams. He's using the memory palace technique to memorize important facts and figures, and then immediately analyzing that information. He interrogates every page of research he encounters, scribbling all the possible questions one could ask the author in the margins. He gives each task his total, undivided attention. And Dave notices that not only are his grades improving, but he's actually enjoying his studying more. He is entering a flow state in his work where the challenge in front of him is enough to properly stimulate his mind. Before, he was hopelessly bored day after day, whereas now his studying excites him. He is seeing his efforts pay off, and that causes his motivation to skyrocket. He thinks back to his former days of mindless skimming and contemplates how much time he wasted doing what was not only miserably boring and terribly time-consuming, but did not achieve anything at all. He is much happier with his new approach. And it frees up loads of time he can spend with his friends, doing his hobbies, or just relaxing. If you follow Dave, you'll be a top student in no time. And subscribe for more thinking to improve your life.